Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is look at some yarn and decide what we're going to make. Now, because this is the first time I'm doing this on camera, I'm going to do something simple. It's going to be a tabby weave, which is basically one up, one down, and we're going to look at things like color variations and that kind of thing. So, sorry about the glare, by the way, as I walk through. I just got a stash from from Michael's. My heddle, now you can get them in different sizes. My particular heddle, which I'm going to get more, but that's beside the point, is 10. So my yarn weight has to match, or else it will pull, or it'll break, or there's all kinds of issues that can happen. So I'm going to go through some sizes as well, look at the Ys and how I got what I got in the way of yarn and how I found out how much yarn to buy. There's a calculation, and here's where we get into math and some figuring out exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. But for my heddle, being a 10-point heddle, if I'm going to buy yarn from Michael's or any of the other department stores that sell yarn, I need sock weight or sport weight. So it needs to be a 3 or a 2. And you'll see that on the side of the package. Let's talk yarn for a minute. I recently managed to get a special at a big box store for crafting supplies. And so please note, you do not have to purchase the same type of yarn as me or anything like that. You want to match your loom with the yarn you're going to work with. That's the most important. So for my loom, as I mentioned, with the 10-point rigid heddle, the bulky kind of yarn that my daughter just brought down for me is not going to work as warp thread. The 5 bulky, even though it's thinner than the big one, still not going to work because I have to be able to fit it inside those tiny little holes. So what I have here is a 2 weight, and you can actually see it on the package. Oh, sorry, mine's a 1. I'm sorry. I thought it was a 2. It's a 1. It's even finer. And it's a super fine, so that mine will easily fit my loom. So we're going to go through, and I'm going to pull out a ruler, and I'm going to show you how we figure out how many picks per inch you can work with, how big your yarn is. There's all kinds of really neat, if you look online, there are pictures that show that particular emblem, this one here with the 1 in it. And try not to get a glare on it. And in focus, thank you very much. All right, that'll show the different numbering systems. That's a 1. This one in my other hand, there it is. It's a bulky 5. Okay, and the black one for Tasha's scarf that she started is a 6. Now, why do I have this out here? Just out of curiosity. My daughters are very artistic. The daughter that has this is not artistic in the fiber arts. She started and was not interested. She does absolutely amazing paintings. That's hers in the back, the 2 people facing each other in blue. So we all have our own passion. Yarn is not hers, so she's passed it on to me, and I'm going to actually finish this, but I'm going to take it apart and do it on the loom. And this is one of those times where I'm going to show how using a thin warp, thin little warp, and a bulky weft is going to give you some really interesting colorations, not colorations, but it's going to feel different. You're going to have that thin, thick thing going on. It's going to be super cool. Anyway, but we're not going to do that right off the beginning because I want to be able to show you the full process, and that's going to be requiring a little bit of color, I think. So here's my next question. Color, which one do we want to do? Or specifically 2. If we want to do something a little bit interesting, I've actually been eyeing these purples, thinking that they would work really well together. Or I recently did a teal and tan combination for my mom, a silver combination for my mom, and it was absolutely amazing. And we worked with pickup sticks, and we'll get into that too. Not today. So I'm going to talk colors and stuff with my daughter, and then I will be back once I make a decision. That's the hard part. Decision. I'm going to go with these three, and we have here a tan, golden yellow, and pumpkin spice. So really lovely, and I think because they're all three warm colors, it'll work well together. So let's look at this label for a minute, because there's some really important information on here that we need to take note of. One, we already talked about, that the weight of your yarn matches the heddle you have. The next piece of information we need for weaving is on the front. This is 678 yards, or 620 meters. So that's the length in one of the balls. So why is that important? Well, because when we're talking about how much yarn do I need to get that weft set up, or the warp set up, then we need to know that I have enough to do everything I want to do. So it's going to take a little bit of math. I'm going to decide what I need to make. And I think in this case, we're going to go for a little walk. Excuse the mess. Excuse the out of focus there for a minute. So let's have a seat at the loom and take a look back again at our heddle. So here's your width. I'm going to put that back down again, because there we go. Width of the heddle. I can go as wide as the heddle. 32 inches wide. That is very cool. Now, if I want to have just a scarf, then we want to talk about how wide is the scarf. Well, a lot of scarves tend to be 12 to 18 inches wide. So you want to always center your warp. And this is where these marks that I've put on my heddle come into play. So here we go. If I was to make a 18-inch scarf, then I need to go 9 inches on either side of the heddle. And I'm thinking with the 3 colors that I'm going to do it in color chunks, but I have a thing for consistency. I like to have a certain amount of symmetry, not only in the colorations, but in the patterns. So let's flip things around and we'll talk about it some more. Talk about your choice in warp threads. Warp threads are the ones that are going to be running on your loom that will have the most tension on them. So you really do want it to have a little bit of strength. There is a way to test for this, and once you can get your hands on the yarn, all you do is wrap it between your fingers, give it a little pull, actually a little bit more than a little bit of a pull, and if it handles that level of tension, you're good to go. Now, if you have purchased a beautiful ball of yarn and it's not going to hold up under tension, then use it as a weft thread. That will serve you very well. You'll have a beautiful product. Just don't put it under tension or you will regret it.